I said, I've been a Doctor Who fan since I was about 9 years old, and I've had living paintings for even longer than that. But they'd never done anything that was Doctor Who, connected to Doctor Who.
Q Talks with Jools London. Our access to audio programmes are sponsored by the National Lottery Community Fund and the Scottish Government. To find out more about how to access our services, visit qandreview.com. Welcome to this edition of Q Talks from the Q and Review Print Speaking to the Blind virtual studio. Hopefully you've not just been listening to our chats, but also on daily news podcasts over at qandreview.com/free podcasts, being recorded from their homes by our amazing team of 15 home readers. Today we talk to Louis Moorhouse, who has a passion about making Doctor Who novels more accessible to the blind and partially sighted children, and has been working with the charity Living Paintings, who create Touch to See books. Welcome, Louis.
Hello, thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So what got you interested in Doctor Who?
So Doctor Who was just, everybody's heard of Doctor Who, haven't they? Everybody knows the theme tune and the TARDIS and the Daleks and all that kind of thing. And I guess, I was kind of brought up with parents that grew up. My parents grew up in the 70s, so they grew up with John Pertwee, Tom Baker, and that kind of thing, and they can remember that, and they need to mention Tom Baker, because Tom Baker used to read audiobooks and things that I had as a child, and my dad would always say that Tom Baker was Doctor Who, and I didn't quite understand what it meant. And then when I got a bit older, 7, 8, 9, my brother was a fan of Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, and had a couple of the toys, and I thought the toys were great. And then I went into school one day, and there was an audiobook in our school library, and it was Doctor Who Pest Control, read by David Tennant. And I thought, well, my brother really likes this thing. I'll have a go. I'll have a listen to it. And I brought it home, and I think it's 2 CDs, so it's about 2 hours long. And I listened to the whole 2 hours, and then came back downstairs and said, I really like it. Have we got any more? Can we get some more? And I've been hooked ever since, pretty much.
Fantastic. And I was watching a YouTube of yours just before coming on today, and with you actually talking to Tom Baker.
I know, that
what was that like?
That was surreal, to say the least. Because it all started with Tom Baker, and everybody knows Tom Baker's voice. Doctor Who or Little Britain or whatever it may be, everybody knows Tom Baker. And then I was talking to the Living Paintings guys, and I was having lunch one day, and I got a phone call, and they said, "We wondered if you fancied having a chat with Tom Baker over Zoom." And I was just like, yes, please. You just ask Tom a few questions. He talks to you. It'll be good. And I thought, yeah, okay, yeah. And then as soon as I hung up the phone, I rang my parents and said, what the hell? What do I even say to the man? He's an absolute legend. What do I say to him? And then it happened. We had a 10-minute Zoom call, and it was very lovely. It was funny actually, when we were just before we started recording, he comes on and he goes, "Are you Louis?" in that voice, and I was just like, "Oh my god, it's Tom Baker." He just asked me who I was. What's going on?
I thought it was funny at the end where he said, "Oh, I really like talking about myself, and I could carry on forever, but like everybody else,
yeah,
after 10 minutes."
Yeah. Well, listen to I would have happily chatted to. I would have been terrified, but I would have happily chatted to him for hours. But I was for that whole interview, and because I'm on camera as well, I was terrified because I thought, I just hope I don't look terrified. I feel absolutely terrified, but I hope it's not coming across. I hope Tom doesn't see that, but
I think
it all seemed to go down really well.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your work with Doctor Who novels.
So, a couple of months back, at the beginning of 2021, I had this idea of, because I've grown up with Living Paintings, Touch to See books, which for those of you that don't know, is it's a book, and they do anything from children's books right the way through to adult. I was going to say adult content then, but that just sounds weird. But all the way through to adult, so they cover all the age ranges. And they're basically raised plastic images called thermoforms, and it could be anything. It could be Thomas the Tank Engine, which that was my first one I got as a child, was a Thomas the Tank Engine one. Or it could be the Mona Lisa, or a musical instrument or anything in between, and then you'll have an audio guide as well, which is somebody, for example, if it was a children's book or something like that, it would be the author or somebody that's connected with the film version of that book, for example, that kind of thing. It's someone that's often famous and connected to the picture somehow, but then talks you through it and describes the colours and talks you through the picture, you know, and through that they're able to get a clearer image as to what the full thing looks like, the full size version would look like. And so like I said, I've been a Doctor Who fan since I was about 9 years old, and I've had living paintings for even longer than that, but they'd never done anything that was Doctor Who, connected to Doctor Who. They'd done Star Wars, which was something else I enjoyed at the time, but they never did Doctor Who, and I thought this could go together really well because living paintings are all about bringing families and generations together. Blind, partially sighted, fully sighted. You can all enjoy a living painting book together. That's the idea. And Doctor Who's always been, the family show that was on a Saturday night. That kind of thing. And I thought, well, why not bring the two together? So I sent off an email to Living Paintings and said, could we do this? Here's an idea. Here's a list of pictures that I thought could be in it. And they said, yeah, we'll see if we can do that. And then I think in early May, we got the go-ahead from the BBC. We started arranging things, and we launched the crowdfunder in late June, which is just finished. We just finished that last week. And we raised more than the funds that we needed to get this project off the ground. So I'm happy to say that it will be happening, and it is in production at the moment, which is very exciting.
Fantastic. So how did you get to know? I mean, I hadn't heard about living paintings before watching your video. So how did the living painting come about? I mean, it sounds great because what I'm hearing from you is that through living paintings and the audio, someone who's blind and partially sighted can enjoy the connection with the family and enjoyment of the media, just as a family that was fully sighted would be able to do with sharing the TV program.
Yeah, so it's just a charity that's I think it's been around for a while. It's been around since I want to say the late 80s, and I'm not an expert on the history of the program of the charity. But what I do know is that it started by bringing works of art to life, which is why they're called living paintings, you see. And they still, you can still get those particular forms from them now, I believe. The Mona Lisa and that kind of thing. You can get that, and you can have that described to you, which I think is fantastic because as a blind person, I'm completely blind myself. It just puts you on a level playing field, doesn't it? Because you can go to an art gallery, and for those of you that are blind watching this, you know all too well the feeling of going to an art gallery and just going, okay, I'm going to put my headphones in for a few minutes while everybody else has a look at these pictures, and then when they're done, I'll take them out again. Because obviously, as a blind person, you can't touch it, even if they allow you to touch it, which a lot of the time they don't. There's nothing there, to feel. So living paintings put you on a level playing field by giving you access to these pictures that you can feel and get described to you. And the lovely thing about living paintings is because it's a library service and you borrow the books, they're available completely free to anyone that's blind or partially sighted. And that's why I was quite keen to get this Doctor Who project off the ground, because I myself know what some of these characters look like now, because over the years I've collected the Doctor Who merchandise, the figures, that kind of thing. And I have loads of them now. And a lot of them I just got with the pure reason of wanting to have an idea as to what these characters look like. For example, the Dalek design varies massively from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then the revived ones. And even from the revived series from 2005 onwards, there's several different designs within that. But as a blind person, I wouldn't have guessed if I hadn't have got these toys and seen the differences there. But those toys can be really expensive, actually. Especially when you start getting more and more of them, it just adds up and adds up and adds up. Or you'll get a box set with all the Doctors in it, and it'll be anywhere between £50 and £100 just to know what they look like. And I just wanted to for myself as well, and for others, to give people the opportunity to know what the characters look like at no cost, you know, so that we can be on that level playing field with Doctor Who, because there's so many visual things in Doctor Who, you know, all the aliens and even the different Doctors and the TARDIS and that kind of thing. There's so many visual elements that as blind people we miss out on, and I wanted to try and bring us onto that level playing field.
Great. So because you've got the ability with the living books to have an image there, you can discuss that and have accessibility to more of the Doctor Who experience.
Yeah, and what we're hoping to do with this, I mentioned that there was an audio guide. What we're hoping to do is have actors from the show describe these images. So they'll talk you through different colours that are in it, the clothes, you know, what the characters are, maybe give a bit of background about them, you know, that kind of thing. We're hoping to get, you know, people, hopefully people like Tom Baker and people that have played the Doctor or played other characters to give background information, you know, which would be very exciting if we can get people like that in to record the descriptions. That would be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. So if anyone's wanting to know anything more about your work with the Doctor Who novels or the Living Painting charity itself, how might they get to know that?
So we have a webpage, livingpaintings.org/doctor-who. That's the page with the Living Paintings have set up all about this campaign, because it was a crowdfunder campaign, and the campaign, like I said, it just wrapped up last week. We absolutely shot past our target. We shot by that quite a lot. We overshot it by quite a lot. It was pretty lovely to see, pretty overwhelming, but lovely. So we have this other page, livingpainting.org/doctor-who, which is where all the information is, and it would have told you how to donate if the campaign was still going, but all the information's there, all the updates happen there, and you can also check out Living Paintings on Twitter, which is just at Living Paintings, and I think that handle also works for Facebook and Instagram as well.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the crowdfunding support, and there may be someone watching today who is interested in supporting your work further. How might they support you?
Donate to Living Paintings is the best way, and I think there's a bit when you make a donation, there is a bit there that you can, you know, say any specific notes, you know, comments, whatever it may be. If you put in that comment bit that it was for the Doctor Who campaign, they'll know what that means, and they can add it to the pot for that, as it were. Thank you very much if you do decide to do that. Thank you. But Living Paintings, you know, Living Paintings always accept donations happily. So if you know, donate to Living Paintings at all would be very much appreciated.
Okay, so that's the financial support. Is there any other way there can be support provided for you?
Just spreading the word, getting the word out there about it, because, like you said, I know you said you hadn't heard of Living Paintings, and a lot of blind people that I've spoken to have yet to hear about the amazing work that Living Paintings do, and I think it definitely benefited me. You know, when I was a child, particularly, I was getting so what they do with children's books is they'll get the whole book put into braille, so you can read it. And it's also in print as well, and all the pictures are there. And the audio guide that I mentioned will describe the pictures in the book as well. They won't read the story to you. You've got to read that, which I thought was very good discipline. I liked that. You had to read the story as well. But then they would describe the pictures within the book that weren't raised, you know, that would just be general pictures. But you would get anywhere from 2 to 4 raised images from like key moments in the book as well, at the front and the back, which would be described to you and that you could feel. But through that, I really kind of got a love of reading. I developed a real love for reading and for writing, and I then went on to do English and really enjoy English, and I have an English A level, so I got Living Painting to thank for that.
Yeah.
So I think there are no end of benefits that they can bring to blind and partially sighted people. So the absolute best thing you can do, if you want to help my campaign out, or if you just want to help out Living Paintings in general, which is just spread the word, because I think they have the potential to really go and to help many blind and partially sighted people and families.
Fantastic. And you said you're a student just now. What are you studying?
I'm a student, yes. I'm at Leeds Beckett University and I'm studying music production.
Music production. And does that link in any way with your support with work with Doctor Who or the Living Paintings?
We'd like it to. It doesn't at the moment, but I would like it to, and that is being talked about. So hopefully, yeah, it does tie into my Doctor Who history because I had one of those Yamaha keyboards as a child that I think we've all had at some point. One of those big Yamaha things, and one of the first pieces I learned was the Doctor Who theme tune because I love the theme tune a lot. I still do. It's just a magical theme tune, isn't it? Everybody knows what that is, you know.
Oh yeah, everyone recognizes it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Um, and that was one of the first pieces I learned, and then ever since I just went on to learn other things, and that went from learning how to play the keyboard properly. That went to learning how to program stuff on my iPad with a keyboard, and then to my laptop, doing what I do now. You know, so yeah, it all comes back to Doctor Who. Basically, my life is Doctor Who.
It led to you going to university.
Yeah.
What you doing now.
I'm at university because of Doctor Who. That's how that
There
works.
you go. Watch more Doctor Who, kids. It'll make you smart.
Yeah. Yeah, look what it did for me. It put me in university and gave me A levels, you know.
Fantastic. So do you make any use of any listening services?
Could you define listening services? Sorry.
Like newspaper listening services, people giving audio. You mentioned audio books or audio.
I love an audiobook. I
Yeah.
love a good audiobook.
Yeah.
You know, I use Audible, or I used to buy them on CDs. It was funny actually. We went to me and my parents went to Waterstones recently,
Yeah.
and my dad said, "I think this is the first time we've been to Waterstones in about 6 years where you haven't insisted on looking at the Doctor Who section and buying an audiobook every time you went to Waterstones." Or every time we went to Leeds, it was like, "Can we go to Waterstones?" Or you know, W.H. Smith. We had to go through every single, because obviously I couldn't see them. So one of my poor parents would be stood there having to read through each and every Doctor Who title that was there, or whatever it might have been at the time that I wanted to get. But that's the one that stands out for me, just looking through the Doctor Who audiobooks and then buying one at a time, bringing it home, often insisting in playing it on the way home in the car. I don't know how my family dealt with that, but there we go.
Well, not only led to university for you, it's led to a long-suffering family then.
Yeah, long-suffering family. I would listen to David Tennant, or you know, I mean, to be fair, could be worse. David Tennant's got a great voice. To be fair, he read a lot of things though. Like he used to read the How to Train Your Dragon series of books as well. So, and yeah, he read a lot of stuff that I grew up with. So.
Great.
Yeah,
Just to mention,
it all comes back to Doctor Who, really, doesn't it? That's the moral of the story.
just to mention a little bit about Q and Review. Q and Review is a free audio service. It has a talking newspaper app with Alexa skill, and the details are at www.qandreview.com/VIP audio and /promotion. So that just leaves me to thank you, Louis, for spending a little bit of time with us and telling us your fascinating story about obsession with Doctor Who and where it's led to personally and how it's benefited.
It led to my entire life. That's what it has led to.
And how that might be benefiting the blind and partially sighted community as well. So that's wonderful to hear that. So thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Q Talks with Jools London. Our access to audio programmes are sponsored by the National Lottery Community Fund and the Scottish Government. To find out more about how to access our services, visit qandreview.com.